Oh, yeah, here we are on testosteronesports.com. I'm Jeff, doing best impression of Jesse as I possibly can, and doing the best impression of Jeff as he can is Zach. Thanks for being here, Zach.
Hey, no problem.
Right now, we're going to talk a little bit about the trends that are beginning in the NFL. When Week 3 comes along, you want to start taking a look at some of the surprise things that are happening throughout the course of the league and start to determine what's going to happen for the remainder of the NFL season and what's going to be a mirage. So a couple things we're going to jump right into. One of the biggest surprises to me, Zach, has been the complete fall off from the Bengals offense. Talk to me a little bit about whether or not you think this is a trend that will continue, or is this a mirage, and you do think that Carson Palmer and crew can get things going as the season progresses?
I think it's a little bit of both of trend and mirage, but I think it all starts with their offensive line play. It just goes to show you how big a solid offensive line is going to be. I mean, they lost who I thought was their best left tackle in Willie Anderson, and it's really showing with their offensive line play. And Carson Palmer has no time to throw. He's getting maybe 1-2 seconds to throw. The receivers are getting jammed on the line. He's just not being able to get the ball to those guys, and he's really struggling.
And what do you think about the rushing game? I know Chris Perry was like the flavor of the month during draft season. He's come in, he's got 1 touchdown on the year. He's looked decent. He looks young and inexperienced. Is he going to get his rhythm down in this season?
He could, but I mean, he's been dealing with a lot of injuries, and he's finally, like you said, getting that rhythm going. But he doesn't have a lot of speed. He's got a little bit of power. I think his best asset is using him in the passing game and getting him out in the open and hitting him in the flats for passes, not so much as a running back.
Now, if you had to guess from your gut instinct, what would you say the number is of wins that the Bengals are able to muster this year?
With their poor defense and their even worse offensive line, I mean, they'd be lucky to get 4 or 5. Okay. The way things are going right now. So.
Well, let's stay right in the division. Another offense that has yet to really get off the ground. We saw them launch into the stratosphere last season, but the Cleveland Browns have looked nothing more than a skid mark so far on the season. What's going on with their offense, and do you think this is a trend or a mirage?
I think it could be an actual trend. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with their schedule. I mean, they're starting out with some really tough teams. They started with the Cowboys, and they had to go to Pittsburgh and play the Steelers. And then this week they play. Help me out quick.
The Browns. We did that one.
Baltimore. They play another tough defense in Baltimore. And I think, and then you're looking at Derek Anderson. I mean, he started out last year real hot, and he came out throwing 300 yards a game, 2-3 touchdowns a game. In the last 6-7 games of the season last year, he really started to fade a little bit. I think defensive coordinators were catching on to Derek Anderson as the quarterback, and it's kind of continued over to this season. And it's going to show you that maybe he's not quite the quarterback that he appeared to be at the beginning of last season.
How long would you say before he gets the hook and we see Brady Quinn for the first time?
I'm not the coach. I mean, for me personally, I think Brady Quinn is a better quarterback in my mind, just from watching them play and watching him in preseason. He's a stronger quarterback. He's got the same type of arm. I think Derek Anderson's biggest highlight of him is his big arm.
Yep.
He lacks accuracy even last year. He only threw, I think, 54-56% on the season, even with that solid season he had. So a couple more bad outings. Maybe they'll get Brady Quinn in there, especially if they lose those games.
Sure.
Yeah.
On the exact flip side of that, but still in the AFC, the Bills have been rolling it up so far this year. Zach, I'm really impressed by Trent Edwards' ability to move the ball through the air. Also, Marshawn Lynch has looked fantastic on the ground. What's your instinct on their offense? Is this a trend team offensively, or when it turns cold, are they going to turn more cold with the weather?
I think it's an absolute trend. If you look at my writer's page today, I actually talked about them being the surprise team of the year, and I've been really impressed, especially with Trent Edwards. Just watching those games, he's throwing for a high percentage. He's making good passes. He's bringing Lee Evans is actually a quality start now again, and those two are really developing really good together. And he's proven that he can be a winning quarterback in the NFL, which is hard to do. And then you got Marshawn Lynch, who's one of the best young running backs in the league. He runs hard. He's got that nose for the end zone. He runs a lot like Marion Barbie. He runs hard every time he gets the ball, and I think their offense is going to continue being successful. Definitely a trend.
Yes. One other team in the AFC who's been really lighting it up, much to the surprise of myself, has been the Denver Broncos. They look a little bit like the Boise State Broncos in the NCAA. But, Zach, what do you tell me about their passing game? I know you like Jay Cutler. Is this a trend that will continue?
Definitely a trend. I mean, it's looking more and more like Mike Shanahan's leaning more towards the pass this year. I mean, he's got 3 or 4 running backs in his backfield. I don't think he is really set on which one he wants to go with week in and week out. And I don't think he has a lot of confidence in the running backs on his team. And I know he has all the confidence in the world in Cutler. He's a big fan of Cutler. The day they drafted him, he said he was going to be that quarterback he's always wanted since he got there or since Elway left. And he's got 2 great receivers, especially with Eddie Royal developing. I mean, much quicker than anybody anticipated. And then Brandon Marshall, like you say, he's absolutely phenomenal. So
and the rushing game from this team?
You know, it's hard. I honestly can't tell you.
It's crazy. It's like as good as the passing game has been, that's a trend that will continue.
Which is weird.
The rushing game has been totally crappy. We know them as a rushing team. Do you think that's a more of a trend that rushing game will suck as the passing game goes well?
I think as the season progresses, they're going to start running the ball a little bit more. But as long as Jay Cutler and he's got those receivers and they're being successful, and they got one of the top young tight ends in the league in Tony Scheffler, and he's proven that he can be a go-to guy as well. So, I mean, as long as they're having all that success in the passing game, why go to the run game?
Moving over to the NFC, one quarterback who's been playing at an MVP level, in my opinion, has been Donovan McNabb. His statistics have been off the charts in the first couple weeks. Tell me if you think that his play is a trend. I know we saw him do this last season before he got injured. Is it going to continue with him, or do you think that's more of a mirage?
Well, like you said, it all has to do with his health. I think as long as he stays healthy, it's going to be an absolute trend. He's healthy. You can see it. Not only that, he's one of the strongest quarterbacks in the pocket. I mean, just look at the Monday night game. How many times that he should have went down for sacks that he was able to get out of those, either hit guys for short passes for first downs or actually run for the first down. So I think as long as he maintains his health and stays healthy, he'll definitely continue putting up solid numbers.
In the NFC South, the resurgent Carolina Panthers, undefeated right now, Zach. Is this the kind of thing that they can keep going? They've got a lot of momentum on their team right now, doing it kind of under the radar. They're getting Steve Smith back this weekend. Are we seeing a trend develop here with the Panthers?
Definitely. I'm actually a big fan of the Carolina Panthers. They're one of those teams that they play really solid defense, they play smart, and then they also are a running team. They got two very solid running backs in the backfield, D'Angelo Williams and then the rookie Jonathan Stewart, who had a breakout game last weekend. I think he had 75 yards, a couple touchdowns. So it can definitely be a trend for that team.
The NFC West Division's got a team who I kind of saw coming out of the gate slow. The St. Louis Rams really have nothing going through the passing game at all. Steven Jackson has yet to really get going. What about because they have such a crappy defense, feels like a trend that they're going to suck. What do you think about that?
I think that's definitely a trend as well. Much like the Cincinnati Bengals, it's all coming down to poor line play. Mark Bolger has no time to throw, and they also have just a horrid defense, so they're getting behind early in games, and they're trying to play catch-up the whole time, and defenses are keying and they're blitzing because they know that Mark Bolger has to step back and throw, and it's just making it too easy for those defenses. So I think it's definitely going to be a trend.
Jackson get going soon?
He's going to have a rough year because those guys, they're going to be stacking the box, and they're going to be bringing the heat, play in, play out, and now that they're behind every game, so they can't get him going. And then I think his best asset of the season is going to be as a receiver. I mean, if he catches 70, 80 balls.
Now, I know that you are a big Purple fan, just like the rest of us, but during the Purple segment, you had to stand on the sideline. We needed our big playmakers in the game. Jesse, got much love for you, bro. And so I wanted to give you a chance to talk a little bit about the fact that we are 0-2 right now, the new quarterbacking change we've made. Do you think in your mind that the struggles we're having is a trend or a mirage?
Boy, that's tough to say. I'd like to think it's a mirage, but it could be a trend just due to the fact that, I mean, we're bringing in Gus Frerotte. We gave Tavares only 2 games to show what he had to do, and I don't think it had as much to do with Tavares as maybe Childers is perceiving it to be. I think it has a lot more to do with our coaching and our lack of quality play calling, maybe, as you could say. So I'm hoping it's a mirage, but it definitely could be a trend.
Here's a chance. Do we beat the Panthers this weekend?
God, as a Viking fan, I hope so.
God, you just got to say yes. So that's a little strategy for you on Testosterone Sports, the television show we're doing right now. We'd like to thank you once again for joining us. Make sure to tune in next week. We're going to do a similar segment to this, talking about the trends that are definitely starting to flesh themselves out. In my opinion, it takes through week 4 to really get a handle on that. So we'd like to thank you for checking us out. Stay tuned. We're going to come back, close up the show with the final matchup segment. Jesse and I back in the house. We'll be right back after this.
What's up, fantasy football junkies? It's Jesse talking to you about my favorite fantasy football website on the web. That's testosteronesports.com. Of course, it's my favorite because it's the website that goes hand in hand with this show that we love to do. The website, also a labor of love. But you're probably saying, Jesse, what's in it for me? Well, what's in it for you is total league domination. The reason you've got to check out testosteronesports.com is we break down all of the matchups on a weekly basis. We have a bench start article that comes out every single week. Right after the show, we host a fat chat where you can come online with us, ask us your matchup related questions. We'll tell you who we think you should play and who we think you should stick on your fantasy bench. It's all about dominating your fantasy football league. And the best part is all of the content is updated daily and it's all completely free. Yes, that's right. You don't have to pay $49.95 to find out if your player practiced on Friday. I do up-to-date player profiling for all of the different players that are pertinent to your fantasy information, so you don't have to worry about going through a bunch of information that doesn't matter to you. All the players that we profile on our website, testosteronesports.com, are all fantasy relevant guys. So get on there, online, check it out, testosteronesports.com. There's games that you can play on there. It's just there's a plethora of things on there for the fantasy football junkies, and it's free, 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 free. I know everybody loves free things. My favorite thing in this life is free beer, but next to free beer, it's free fantasy football. So get online, check it out, testosteronesports.com, to help you dominate your fantasy football league.